Good morning. Somebody rearranged my papers again. It's good to be loved. Like Pastor Tom said, my name is Andy Svoboda, and Pastor Gordon asked me to give you my story this morning. I want to let you know that I was raised in a good home with Christian parents. And when I was 11 years old, I heard that there was such a thing as a heaven and a hell. And I sure did not want to go to hell. A wonderful lady from our church at that time helped me and led me in a prayer to ask God for forgiveness for my sins. I was baptized at my church. I went to church every Sunday with my family, youth group, and prayer night on Wednesday nights, Christian school, etc. Pretty soon, though, however, it became obvious that saying a certain prayer and going to church and youth group didn't change my life at all. Actually, I was allowing life to change me. I really didn't want to follow Jesus, and I felt like I couldn't make God happy anyways, no matter how hard I tried. I lived to serve myself during my high school and my college years, but as I got older, my troubles and my problems got bigger. I wanted to have victory over things like drinking and treating women like possessions, but I couldn't. Even more, I wanted to find peace, meaning, and purpose. But I knew how bad I was on the inside, and I couldn't find that either. I remember sitting in my room with a loaded gun to my head a number of times, and since I wasn't sure if God would let me into heaven if I committed suicide, I would just sit there hoping that it would go off accidentally. So the only answer I had was to decide to pull myself up by my own bootstraps and do good things. Good things like my new goals were to get a good degree, find a good job, marry a good woman, have good children, retire, die. Hopefully in that order, right? And I did get to marry a Christian woman, and I thought that having children would force real change in my life, the kind that would make God finally happy with me and finally give me the peace that I wanted so badly. But life still wasn't working. I tried looking at things on the internet that I shouldn't. I tried to stop acting one way at church and a totally different way at work. I even tried to change by serving at my church and going on a short-term missions trip. Actually, I was getting pretty good at changing myself on the outside and looking pretty on the outside. But it was obvious again, especially to my wife, that I was a seething, screaming mess on the inside. So by the time I'm 38 years old, having done the whole church thing since I was a kid, I'm discovering that it's not working at all. I remember trying to explain all this to Pastor Gordon in my car one evening. We were sitting together in my car in September of 2009. I know it was memorable for Gordon because I had just had way too much garlic for dinner that night, and I'm gassing the poor guy out of my car, but he stayed. I told him I didn't understand how he could believe that God was really involved in our lives, or that God even listens to us when we pray. Gordon's response to me was, Andy, whether you realize it or not, if you pray with genuine sincerity, God really will hear you, and he will change you. He wants to change you more than you want to change. Well, I can't fully explain what happened to me next. I had come to a point of total desperation in my life. That peace I was looking for seemed so far out of reach. My marriage was tumultuous. My anger towards my children had reached an all-time high. I stood in front of the mirror in my bedroom one day, and I finally told God that I surrender. I told God I was willing to follow him no matter what it cost. He was the only one worth pleasing. I decided I wanted to be close to God through reading his word because I didn't want to miss what he had planned for me in my life. I told God I couldn't change myself. I wanted to trust in him alone. So that was the moment that everything in my life began to change. It didn't get easy, actually quite the opposite. But I discovered that if I will let him change me at any cost, he will change me. Following Jesus didn't become part of my life. It became the reason I live It was no longer an impossible chore, but it was my response to his peace and his love. I've given him free rein to change me, from allowing anger and anxiety to rule me to finally experiencing real peace and purpose. I'm 40 years old now, and I can tell you that Christ is still changing me and teaching me every day. And I feel like I can finally say from experience, and not just from what I was told should be true, that change really is possible. Thank you.